we're going to look at how can you represent data using a circle graph, often called a pie chart as well. This shows you some data in a table, favorite type of movie, and how you can take that data from a table and put it into a circle graph or a pie chart. This is a really great way to show relative sizes. It's easy to see which movie types are most liked and which are least liked at a glance, especially with all those colors. We're going to create a circle graph. It says the school pet club voted for club mascot. A circle graph can show the results of the vote. Follow the instructions to complete the table, then shade and label the circle as described in part D to make the circle graph. So find the angle measure needed to represent the votes for each mascot. So first thing we need to do is get the total number of votes. When I add up all these votes, I have 24 total votes. The interior angles of any circle have a sum of 360 degrees. So all of these angles together make up our circle, and we know that a circle has 360 degrees. So down here on our total, our angle measure has to equal 360. And then we need to find the part of the circle needed to represent the votes for Pug as mascot by finding the angle of the measure needed. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to think about if I have 360 total votes, and I know, or 360 total degrees, and there are 24 votes, I know that each vote has to equal 15 degrees. Okay, so once I know that, I can go up here and say, okay, the angle measure for a pug, well, there were 10 votes. Each vote equals 15 degrees. So the angle measure for a pug would be 150. Siamese, so there were 6 votes. Again, each vote equals 15 degrees. So that would be 90 degrees on my circle graph. A parrot, 4 votes, 15 degrees each. So they're going to be 60 degrees. Iguana had 2 votes. Each vote is worth 15 degrees, so that would be 30 degrees. A mouse had 1 vote, so that would be 15 degrees. And a ferret had 1 vote, so that's 15 degrees as well. Now to figure out the sectors to shade, I have to do a little different calculation. So I know there are 360 total degrees in this circle, and there are 12 sectors that are all the same. So what that tells me is that for each sector it's 30 degrees. Okay, remember, this is per vote. This is how many degrees are in a sector. Okay? So when I go to figure this out, so I'm going to start at the bottom this time. Ferret, 1 vote, 15 degrees. Well, I can't shade in a whole sector because that's 30. So this one would get half of a sector. A mouse would get half of a sector. Iguana is 30 degrees, so that's 1 sector. Parrot is 60 degrees, so that's 2 sectors. Siamese is 90 degrees, so that's 3 sectors. And then the pug is 150 degrees, so that would be 5 sectors. So I'm going to go on to this, and I'm going to actually create my circle graph now using those numbers. So I'm going to title my circle graph mascots. And then I'm going to use some different colors to shade. I'm going to start anywhere, and I'm just going to move clockwise. For me, I like to start at the radius that's pointing straight up and down. And so I'm going to look at this one, and I know that the pug was 10 votes, which is 150 degrees or 5 sectors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be my pug. P-U-G. Okay. Then I'm going to move on to my next one, which was Siamese. And we'll get a new color. Siamese had 6 votes, which was 90 degrees or 3 sections. So here is my Siamese. Then down to the parrot, there are 4 votes for parrot. That means that the parrot gets 60 degrees or 2 sections. Pop up a new color for the parrot. There's my 2 sections. E-A-R-R-O-T. Okay, and then we're down to iguana. Iguana had 2 votes. 2 votes was equivalent to 1 section. So the iguana gets this whole section. Not quite big enough for me to label, so I'll just draw a little line and write iguana. And then mouse and ferret each had 1 vote. That was 15 degrees, so they only get half of a section for each of them. So we'll color 1 here for the mouse and get a new color. Color 1 here for the ferret. Again, I can label these mouse, ferret, and there you have it. One thing to consider down here, question, suppose 1 vote for iguana was not counted. How would the circle graph change if that vote were added? So the section for iguana would get larger, but also all of the other sections would get slightly smaller. The degrees would still have to equal 360, but the relative size of the sections would have to decrease just a little bit. All right, here's a circle graph that's created for us. A survey of 200 students asked each to name a favorite free time activity. The results are shown in the circle graph. Which is the most popular activity? So if we look over here, not surprising, in this survey, using the internet was 108/10 degrees, so that would be the most popular activity. It has the biggest sector. Which activity was chosen by 50 students? Explain. All right, so this one, when I think about, the survey had 200 total students, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, 50, what part of the sector would that be? Well, I can think through that. 50 out of 200 is the same as the fraction 1/4. I know that 1/4 of a circle is 90 degrees. So I can see that watching television would be the activity that was chosen by 50 students because that is 1/4 of my circle graph, which 50 is 1/4 of 200. Okay. Number 3, students collectively listed 18 different activities. Was reading the least popular activity? Justify your reasoning. So no, reading wasn't, because you can see there were 18 different activities. On our circle graph, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 that are listed individually. And then this category right here comprises the other 14 activities. So that just means there weren't a lot of votes for these other activities. And so they just grouped them together as the other. So although reading was number 4 out of kind of the bigger groups, it isn't the least popular one based on our data. All right, one more circle graph to look at. It says Vicky surveys the people about their favorite team and makes a circle graph of the data. Is the graph correct? Explain. All right, so if you look at this table, one thing we should note right away is that the T-Wolves and other have the exact same amount, and so their sections should be the exact same. And it does not appear on the circle graph that they are. The other thing you notice is that the wild has the least number of votes, but on the circle graph that is not the smallest sector. So it could be that the T-Wolves and wild sections may be reversed, but currently it is not